Hi friends and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be learning how to draft and cut this beautiful loop-sided neckline with cape as seen on the thumbnail. So the first thing you need is your basic bodice. Once you have your basic bodice, you can go ahead to mark out the neckline you would want. If you want the neckline to be wide, you may consider using 5 by 1. That is 5 inches wide and 1 inch deep. Okay, so this depends on what you actually want. So when you are done, you go ahead and take out your shoulder slope, you put in your armhole curve. Just prepare your basic bodies and then the alteration will start from there. So put in your waist dart for fitting, and we are going to be using a princess dart. This is part 1 of this illustration. That is, if you would want to use a princess dart to achieve this, maybe you don't want the opening to be so much, you can use your princess dart. And the part 2 of this video is going to be using a shoulder dart. So I have gone ahead to create my princess seam, and always remember that you should extend your princess dart by 1 inch, because by the time you are done joining, you wouldn't want to run short of your fabric around the armhole area. Okay, so blend in properly. This is not a princess dart bustier, it's just your regular princess dart. Okay, so now you can come down by 1 inch for the bust dart. That is if you want to add your bust dart. All the darts, what they do for you is just to give you perfect fit by the time you are done. Okay, so you can go ahead and shade so that you don't get confused when you are cutting. At this point now, you'll need to add up the bust dart allowance back to the length of your body so that you don't run short of the allowance there. Okay, because you've added the bust dart, and the bust dart is going to take up like 1 inch from the total length of your upper bodice. Do not forget that if you're using a bust dart, kindly note that your front piece has to be longer than your back piece, and I am cutting this on fold. Okay, this is being cut out on fold. I am not cutting single. So before I finish cutting out, I'll go ahead now and insert my body measurements. At the bust line, you place your bust measurement divided by 4 plus your 1 inch for the dart allowance, and then your extra inches for your sewing allowance. You do same to the under bust and the same to the half length. Before I cut out my pattern, I always like to close up the bust dart and then redraw my line from bust to the waistline. Okay, I just go ahead and confirm your measurements, close up your bust dart, and then you connect back from your bust to the waistline. After which you take your time and cut out all your pieces. Having cut our pattern out, this is what we have: the center panel and the 2 side pieces. So we'll keep the 2 side pieces aside and work on the middle piece. Now, like I mentioned earlier, just like in my last video, the level of opening you want for your neckline depends on you, or depends on what your client wants. Okay, so this is creating this neckline using a princess dart seam, where you do not want the drop down to be so much or to be so revealing. You can use your princess dart seam. And in the second video, we are going to be using a shoulder dart seam. So we'll keep the side pieces aside and continue with our center piece. So here you are going to determine how deep or how low you want the shoulder to be. That's the one that is dropped to be. If you want it 6 inches, that is fine. Between 5 and 6, I think, should be moderate. But there are some clients that may want you to reveal a little bit of flesh around there, so you may consider going down by 7. Okay, now looking at our neckline, the neckline we cut out for this pattern is wide. So when you are cutting out your neckline, please use 1 inch depth, like I said in the video, so that you don't have a curved out neckline as it is here. So I'm just trying to extend this so that I'll cut out the curved part of this neckline. Do not use a neckline that is so deep, so that it doesn't affect your shape by the time you want to connect. Okay, just take note of that. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll just go ahead and curve it like this, but it shouldn't be curved this way. It should be straight, because when you have it curved, and if you make your extension for the fold or for the cape, it might come out looking funny. Okay, so just make it straight, and in achieving that, you need to make sure that your neck depth from the pattern is not so deep. You can just use 1, so that when you curve or when you make your straight line, you have a perfect outcome, a perfect result. Now you transfer the centerpiece to a fresh pattern. You may consider using your pin or your masking tape to tape this down, just to make it very easy for you. So go ahead and tape, and then with your ruler, you are going to be making an angle 45 degree from the shoulder where you have the depth. Okay, from the lower shoulder, just make an angle 45 degree up to about 6 or 7 inches, depending on how big you want the cape to be. Then from the other shoulder, you're going to come down by 1 inch. This 1 inch is going to serve as sewing allowance for the joining of your back and front shoulder. So you make your connection from the other shoulder up to the tip of the extension. Now you can go ahead and recut this. The second pattern now, or the paper down, is now going to be your new centerpiece. So we'll go ahead now and cut this out. So this is what your centerpiece should be looking like by the time you are done cutting. You can see the curve around the neckline is affecting the fold. So do not make that mistake. If you're making any connection, or if you are cutting out your neckline, just ensure that there is no curve anywhere, please. Okay guys, this is what your pattern should be looking like by the time you are done. Okay, now we've been able to achieve this neckline using a princess dart seam. In our next video, we are going to be repeating the same neckline using a princess dart seam. If you are yet to subscribe to this channel, kindly do so that you don't miss out in any of our sewing tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like, leave a comment if you find this helpful, share our videos for more people to see, and do not forget to subscribe. Thank you. Bye.